jingle me in one more time.
Give me a video game.
The video game is Contra.
Okay, just a minute.
Hey, it's me, Destin. Welcome back to No Dumb Questions. I'm laughing because Matt just did the Contra theme, and it was good. Today, we're going to talk about body slamming people on airplanes and dragging them out of square people pipes and my DNA, which is kind of strange, but it's going to be fun. You want to explain it, Matt?
This episode is sponsored by 23andMe, and Destin just got his results back from 23andMe, and we have not opened them yet, so we're going to find out who you are as a human being. And hopefully, when we cold open those on the next segment, you will have a giant existential crisis.
Yeah, it's genetic testing. They tell you where you're from. It should be pretty interesting. Also, there's a mystery box. There's a mystery box that somebody mailed us something, and we're going to open it together.
And we've been sitting on this for 4 or 5 days. It's giant, right?
It's actually really small, but it's really heavy. I think it might be a tiny piece of a neutron star.
I have no idea whether or not that would be heavy, so I'm not going to walk into your Matt doesn't know anything about science trap again.
Let's start the show. Matt, airplanes, what do you think?
I feel like you've been listening to listener feedback suggesting we get into the topic faster. That's what I think.
Okay, the United Airlines brawl that happened. I have never received a phone call from you as angry as the day that happened. I just want to hear what you have to say about it.
I was angry. I'm still angry. Just in general, I don't like it when people use force against other people in ways that are horrible and lopsided and in situations where nobody can do anything to help the poor person. That was probably the most irritating part about the whole thing to me was, we got to tell the story.
Okay, I'll recap. This guy bought a ticket, got on a plane. United Airlines decided he should not be on the plane anymore because they wanted somebody else on it more than him. And so then they just basically, pile drive him off the plane. Whatever. They just headlocked him and pulled the shirt over his face and busted his teeth out or whatever. Yeah, got him off the plane.
I don't know that they necessarily
pretty good?
Hockey punched him, but it had the same result. And at least the hockey people signed up to get punched. And they smashed his face against that armrest, and his glasses are busted up, and he's bleeding, and he's missing teeth. And then they did the full-on drag him out by the arms thing, like the drag of shame. And dude, I was hot. You heard my phone call, and you weren't exactly all roses and happy when you saw it either.
Well, I thought you were overreacting till I actually watched the video. And then I kind of put myself in the place of the people that were there. And the question came up, what the heck would I have done if I was sitting in one of those seats? What would you have done
if you were sitting in one of those seats? I asked slightly before you.
Oh, I don't know, man. So there's this threshold that happens for me. And it's my wife, when we first got married, I'd call her the champion of justice, because if there were 2 lines and she saw somebody break in the other line, she had to point it out. Hey, no, you can't do that. You cannot break in that line. I'm like, sweetie, you're embarrassing us. Please stop. No, they broke. You are not allowed. I'm like, sweetheart.
This is how society falls apart.
So put yourself on that flight from Chicago to Louisville. And all of a sudden, okay, great. They start trying to bribe us to get us off the plane. No big deal. All right. Okay, the money goes up, $800. I start thinking about it. I don't know. I really want to get home to the kids, $1,000 if they'd have done that even. I don't even think they went that high. How much would it take for you to get off the plane, first of all?
It's a 4.5-hour drive. I live in Wyoming. The next town is like 4.5 hours away from me. I exaggerate slightly, but not that much. So I would have taken the $800, maybe tried to talk him into a car rental. That way they don't have to give me a flight at any point, just one-way car rental, and I go. So if I'm on the flight, I don't think the situation is happening, because I would take the $800 and the 4.5-hour drive.
If I've been on travel for 4 days, I'm getting home. I'm doing whatever I have to do to get home to the family, right? So it's probably going to be $2,000 for me. And only then I could justify it, because I would take my family somewhere with the money or something. I don't know. But it would take a lot. So apparently they did not meet the threshold of pain. Or I guess, let's see. There's 2 ways to motivate people.
It's the carrot threshold. The carrot
pleasure
wasn't chubby enough.
Yeah, there's two ways to influence a person's, behavior. One is the anticipation of pleasure or the anticipation of pain. Am I saying that right, Mr. History Philosophy dude?
I'm not in charge of that. Yeah, that sounded smart to me.
Okay, cool. So, apparently the pain threshold was not exceeded by the potential pleasure threshold. Therefore, everybody decided to stay on the plane. So,
Right.
So I don't know. Is it a good thing that they can even do this? Can you overbook a flight? Is that a moral?
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Before we get to that, though, I got to do better than I just would have taken a car, and so I wouldn't have been there. If I'm on the flight and I see that happening,
Yeah.
I have this weird part of my brain that right before I go to sleep, I picture ludicrous, dangerous situations and imagine myself to be more athletic and impressive than I am. And I picture cool things that I would do to solve problems and how I would rescue my children from peril. And I seriously, I game all of this out right at the edge of sleep, which is when I'm at apparently my best in terms of heroism.
Right.
That version of me would have stood up and blocked the aisle and been like, no, we're not laying hands on this guy. We're going to find another solution. But
Like
the version of
full
me...
on Gandalf? You'd grab like the drink
Yes.
cart. Thou shalt not pass.
I'm working on the beard.
Okay, got it.
But
I
the
have a mental
actual
image here.
version of me would have sat there like a scared person and thought, if I say or do anything other than passive aggressively whine or make snide remarks, I'm going to jail. Maybe
Or-
for a long time, because you can't goof around on planes.
Or pull
you
my
can't
cell phone
do
out in an aggressive manner to make sure that they see that
Yeah.
I'm filming them. I'm
I'm
filming
pointing my
you.
phone at you, bro.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird that that's what we're reduced to?
That's a thing these
Hashtags
days.
and pointing our phone at people. I'll show you. Look at this thing I have. Look at it. Look at it.
Somebody passed me the other day. Apparently, I was doing something silly when I was driving. I don't even know what I was doing, but the person passed me and pulled the phone out and started like shoving it in my face and yelling at me. And they were the only person in their car. And I was like, I apparently have done something wrong because they're
Were you
doing.
wearing your blue hat? I think it was
I
somebody
was.
who really likes another one of the science channels on YouTube.
No, but they were doing the phone wave. I mean, we kind of need a word for that because that's a thing now. Like I'm going.
Flipping people off with your phone?
It's a thing. So they were doing that to me. And I'm sure I don't know. They probably recorded it and then realized how boring I was and then didn't do anything with it. But I don't know. That's probably what I would do. Pull out my phone, start waving it at the people that were, neck slamming the guy in front of me, choke slamming him. I don't know. It's a bad thing, man.
I would like to think that I could have thought of something on the fly that would provide a solution that would make everybody happy. Like, what if you jump up in that moment and you're like, whoa, okay, the brute squad is here. Hey, airplane, can we just kick in to make it worth somebody else's time? Like, can everybody just kick in $10 or something so that no one has to be dragged off of this? There has to be a financial solution. And what frustrates me is that the carrier didn't provide a financial solution. Just keep bumping up the number and nobody's going to have to get punched, which is awful for everyone. Checkbook diplomacy solves that situation 10 times out of 10.
We were on a road trip. For us, it was a long one. It was like 16 hours. And we had a 1.5-year-old in the car who was crying. Okay. So you kind of can do the math on that. We stay at a hotel because we decide that's the best thing for the family. We get up and we're going to get on the road again and we go get some coffee at a fast food restaurant or a quick serve restaurant as they call themselves. I've recently learned. Anyway, so we're in line. We order coffee. They do the 2 windows thing. We paid for it. We go to the next window. They set the coffee behind the window and then nobody ever comes and gives it to us. It's there. You can see it, but you can't have it.
What were they doing?
They were telling jokes and stuff inside. The workers were just chilling and backslapping, just hanging out. Nothing. We're now the first of 4 cars in line. Then it starts stacking up. I start looking at my watch. The baby starts crying. My wife wants her coffee. What do you do?
Oh, you impress your wife with take control manliness.
Do you know what I did?
I can guess.
Yeah, I pulled forward. I went inside. I immediately walked straight behind the counter. I opened the window, got the coffee. No. Did I? No, I didn't pull forward because I handed the coffee to my wife through the window and then had her pull forward. and then had the next car pull up and like, hey guys, this is how you do it. And then the next car pulled up and said, hey man, what was your order? And he was like, I had a sausage biscuit. Yeah, I was like, hey, sausage biscuit, let's do this. And yeah, I totally did. And what do you think the employees did? Because this is where it got weird. They, all the effort they were putting into not giving me my food.
They then redirected to calling the authorities.
Exactly. This story ends with me being detained for just a couple of minutes by the policeman. And then the cop looks at me and goes, dude, just leave. Just never come back here. These people are crazy. That's how that story ends. But the people that is first,
hold on a sec. That is A+ police work.
Yeah,
I salute that dude, and I want to give him a 5-star review.
Yeah, it was. I gave the restaurant a very, very low review on Yelp. But anyway, the people that were in the restaurant that were seeing it happen, because I was the drive-thru, right? But there were people inside the restaurant. When I started doing this, they started clapping and cheering. It was amazing. It was fantastic. Anyway,
yeah. Normally, that's the kind of reaction that's reserved for people in the military coming home from long tours of duty.
Yeah, so it was bad.
It must have been bad if they were to the point where they're clapping for some dude saving the drive-thru.
But there was this one moment, not going to lie, there was this one moment when the cops showed up because they were like, hey, I'm sorry, sir, let us give you change or, let us give you a refund for your, whatever. And they were just dragging their feet. They were just waiting on the cops to get there. And then they told him I jumped through the window and was stealing stuff. It was really quite fantastic. Anyway, there was a moment when the police got there. And they were like, hey, there he is, get him. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm about to go to jail for getting the coffee I paid for. And so
have you ever been to jail?
No, I haven't.
That would make that extra scary. No, I have not.
Oh man, I was really hoping for something there. Anyway.
I got nothing.
But that feeling was very, very scary because you have a reputation, right? Your name is worth more than gold. What happens if that gets tarnished because you tried to help somebody?
That is problematic. And if you get a reputation as someone who messed around with a flight, it doesn't matter how irrational the reaction of the carriers or the airport police is against you, that is a big black eye for you.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it. It's just one of those things that you just can't do. And so what's strange to me, all the way back to the situation, and I'm still remembering your question about should overbooking be allowed, but what's strange for me about that whole situation is just to think how many things have to happen societally to go from a place where, a bunch of naked people living in pristine nature in the early days of humanity go from, hey, that guy is being attacked wrongly, we need to defend our own, to a place where everyone freaks out and holds tiny black boxes. I'll point my tiny black rectangle at you. Just so many inventions, so much philosophy, so many ideas had to occur to get us to this weird place where that's how we would react to injustice. And I'm not saying I'm better than those people because I surely would have done the same thing.
And if you think about it, at the end of the day, we're walking through a square people pipe, getting onto a shiny tube of other people's farts, and we're flying places, which is fantastic. If you think about that, that's amazing.
The only thing I disagree with in that statement is that your suggestion that those are other people's farts. Yeah. Altitude does weird things to a guy.
We haven't been flying long, is my point. And it's a really fantastic thing. And sometimes I think we lose sight of the fact that we are flying through the air. And it's we're overcome by the bureaucracy that is air travel.
Did you ever see the Louis C.K. stand-up routine about that?
No, I haven't.
I need to connect you with that. It has some swears in it, so don't bring.
You wouldn't
know
anything about that, would you,
Pastor? Oh, I'm against that. I have part of seminary is there's a class called swears, and they list them all out so you know what they are when bad people use them. But obviously, it's the kind of thing where you wouldn't ever want to use those yourself because of how bad that would obviously be.
Obviously, yes, and that would hurt your.
So it has some swears, but it's awesome. He's making the same point, and he's criticizing people who gripe about their cell phones and airplanes, and he's making the point basically like, you're a freaking superhero. You can fly through the air and traverse the continent in 3 hours, and you're complaining about this or that thing. He does it. I always feel pleasantly chastised and perspectivized when I watch that guy. He's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting if you think about it. I mean, We're doing, I don't know. What do you think about air travel? Do you like the way it is right now?
Yes and no. I love the superpower of being able to transcend a distance in a way that none of our ancestors ever could. We're only like 4 generations into this thing. Every ounce of humanity that came before us had to labor to go anywhere. I live right by the Oregon Trail ruts in Wyoming.
Oh, do you get dysentery?
The South Pass. Cholera.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a
that's
pity, really. And I'm low on buckshot, so I'm not sure if I can get any more venison to survive the remainder of the winter.
Yes. Thank you for humoring me. Go ahead.
I'm here to help. But South Pass is the place where all of the westward travel in this area funneled because it's the one way through the Rockies. And so there's some really dug in Oregon Trail ruts there. And when I'm out on my 4-wheeler, even in the middle of summer, goofing around, I feel exposed and at risk, and it's so wild out there. And then I picture people cruising across there in a covered wagon with their family and the cholera and the dysentery, and just think that was like 6 generations ago. That is not very long. And now we go into the square beetle pipes and we travel on the metal tubes and we get everywhere we're going. I'm going to Rome next month. It's going to take me like 7 hours.
That's awesome.
Bummer. I have to watch 3 movies and play some video games on my phone, and then I'll be in the eternal city. It's just crazy.
Rabbit Trail, what are you doing in Rome?
Ooh, this is fun. I taught just a for fun class to a whole bunch of adults on the history of Christianity in the first 1,000 years after Jesus. And so I'm just kind of explaining, I don't know, that whole elaborate story to people and really emphasizing the role that Rome played in that story. But everybody who did it, we're loading up on planes and we're going to go hang out over there, like 30 of us going to Rome for 2 weeks to see history stuff.
Really? So you're just going to wake up and go to like different sites and you're going to explain it or something?
Yeah, exactly that. It's my favorite not America town, and so I go there whenever I can with my horrible Italian and bumble my way around and see stuff that I've read about in books forever. It's like unwrapping Christmas presents every time I go. So I thought what would be cool would be to get all these people to the point where it's really like unwrapping a Christmas present for them.
I wonder if anybody listens from Rome.
Well, at least 2 people do because they've looked me up. One listener pointed out that I incorrectly described Mussolini's Rome as a concrete set of buildings. And in fact, they are concrete inside, but they're covered in marble. So in defense
Travertine?
of Benito Mussolini, those buildings are nicer than I described them as being. And it was a very nice note.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Huh. Okay. Rabbit trail over. I forget where we were. You were going down a square people pipe.
Yeah. And you would ask me if I like air travel. And my answer, elaborately long-windedly, is yes, I really do, except for the constraints on just maneuvering around and being free for those few hours. I feel really locked in when I get through security, and you can only go certain places and you can only say certain words. And if you do anything wrong, you're in trouble. I love getting off the plane and out of the airport.
So I feel the happiest I am during air travel is walking down the jet bridge, or as I call it on Snapchat, the square people pipe. And it's kind of become a thing. People send me pictures of themselves in square people pipes all over. And for me, that moment is like, I've successfully made it to the gate. My connection worked. I showed the last person my piece of paper that lets me go into this pipe that gets me to the tube where I can just shut my brain down and I'm not expected to do anything on board the plane. So that's always a moment of joy for me.
Do you shut it down on the plane or do you talk to people?
It just depends on what they want to do. Sometimes if I'm going somewhere like to talk or something like that, I'll prepare the talk. But, if I'm coming home, I try to rest up so I can, be dad when I walk in the door. It just depends. I like to shut it down, but if somebody wants to talk, I'm not opposed to that at all. In fact, it's really fun. I like to meet people.
Have you ever sat down next to somebody who's like, "Hey, aren't you Dusty Sandberg?" And then you have a whole conversation about Smarter Every Day and stuff? That's
happened a couple of times, but I normally, yeah, it's happened before. But usually
that's
other people are interesting. They always have a story of where they're going and stuff like that. What's your best airplane story?
Can best mean worst and most interesting?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, here's the quick one. I was in Africa on a really fun trip. We went clear back into super remote jungle. We took some really weird flights to get where we were going. We got back on the big commercial airliner to connect back to Paris. Forgive me, I've got a cough drop going here. That's the clicking sound you're hearing. And we touched down at like 1 a.m. in some country at some airport just to pick up a few more passengers. And while that's going on, the whole plane rocks while we're sitting at the gate.
On the ground.
I thought, well, that's odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the ground. We're just sitting there, dead stop. And I didn't think much of it. Went back to playing on my Game Boy. And a few minutes later, the pilot comes on and says, we're going to deboard the plane. Okay, that's getting worse. And I expected the stewardesses to come and lead us off, but it wasn't. It was dudes in berets with AK-47s.
Oh, man.
And they took us out row by row, full escort. They took us into some weird hallway, and they put us all, the entire flight, 1 a.m, some random African country, in this holding room and locked it.
Wait a second. Hold on.
No
so,
bathroom.
So these dudes
no nothing.
got on the plane with guns.
Yes.
What? So you were reaccommodated is what was about to happen.
We were reaccommodated. Yeah.
What was the deal? Like, did they point the guns at you?
No, but it seemed like it wouldn't have been a big hand motion to go from holding it where they were to pointing it at us. So we took it seriously.
I don't want to tell my story anymore. This is good. Go ahead.
I'm sure your story is awesome.
You're
They put us in this room, no facilities and no reason, no explanation. Bunch of Americans on the flight. And I guess I don't know why I said this matters. I don't know why I addressed the American thing because everybody has to pee, but people started having to pee and there's nowhere to go. And first it's the dudes. And so people just start peeing in the corner of this holding room that we're all in. That's how long we were in there. And then some ladies started having to go. And so some gentlemen would face outward and make like a protective privacy barrier for some ladies to take care of their business over in the corner. Place is starting to smell kind of bad. We've been there for a long time.
Are you making this up?
I don't think so. I feel like all that happened.
It really happened. Because this makes every thing that's ever happened to me in air travel, mild inconveniences compared to what I thought they were.
Yeah, but you and I have swapped stories. You've had some weird stuff happen in Africa. It's a place where awesome things happen and sometimes it gets weird.
Oh yeah, it's pretty weird. Okay, so what happened? There's pee in the corner and a lot of people in a room. That's where we're at.
Yeah, my Game Boy runs out of batteries, and about the time that happened, I lost my security blanket. Castlevania was getting me through the night, and now everybody's starting to get a little bit worked up, and finally, the guards come back. They open the door. They say nothing to us. They gesture us out. They walk us back to the plane. We get on the plane. We taxi. We get in the air. As soon as we're out of this country's airspace, the pilot comes on. It's like, somebody apparently rammed the plane with the little baggage car. They wanted to make sure it wasn't terrorism. So we're on our way again now. Like, that was it.
That was it?
That was it.
And people just accepted this?
What else are you going to do?
That's so strange. They accepted it when you're in the room and you're having to like form circles around ladies so they can take care of their body requirements.
Well, we did what Americans do. We passive aggressively complained just loud enough for other people to hear.
Just to make us feel better.
Kind of our superpower.
That's so strange, man.
Well, yeah, just no recourse, no option.
It's not very different from what happened here, though, is it? People just kind of pointed their little magic boxes at the thing and just, I'm going to document this.
That's what I don't like about air travel, is that feeling of I am not in control of my destiny until this process is over. And I'm so relieved once I am out of the airport and on my own. And it's experiences like that probably make me feel that way. So what's your best plane story?
Oh, it's nothing compared to that, man. I mean, I can tell it in 10 seconds. I was 14, didn't know much about air travel, and I sat next to a lady with a crying baby, and she decided to breastfeed right next to me, and that made my 14-year-old brain explode.
Had you ever witnessed breastfeeding before?
No, and I didn't witness it then because I was a complete gentleman. And I turned to the window and stared out the window, and I listened very intently to what was going on behind me.
You could hear suckling?
I could, and I was like, this is the strangest thing in my entire life. Of course, now, 4 children, I had no idea how much that wasn't a big deal at all, but I don't know. That was pretty bizarre for a 14-year-old me. So
yeah, and that it's actually a rather awesome thing, but Yeah, that's terrifying when you're a kid.
The only time I have ever flown first class was one time when I was on official business, and I got a migraine and I had to get home, and I walked up to the counter, and I was making sure that it was the correct flight, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Sandlin, hey, you have first class today." I was like, "Really? Oh, thank you so much, thank you, Lord." And so I got on first class, and then I fell straight to sleep because I had more legroom, and I woke up. So I've never really experienced first class, but I really got it.
Was it the kind of first class where you could transform your chair into a bed?
No, it wasn't. Have you done that?
Yeah, we volunteered to get bumped off of a flight from Frankfurt to somewhere in the U.S. They paid us really well.
Due to overbooking, right?
Yeah, overbooking. It's like, I don't know, we made $1,500 on the deal and got another day in Europe. So for us, it was a good deal. We weren't in that big a hurry to get home. And that trip back across, man, it was catered. It was awesome.
Whoa. I would like to do that one day, but I have no interest in paying that much money to do it.
It was like an Air Winnebago. Like if you could sleep right up above the cabin. You remember those where you could sleep above your dad driving the motorhome thing? It was the most comfort I'd felt since the last time I got to ride in the motorhome.
That's awesome, dude.
It was fairly awesome. You asked about overbooking. What do you think of that practice?
Overbooking, it makes sense from an efficiency standpoint because what humans want is cheap airfare. We've established that as a society. In order to get the cheap airfare, you have to do things like cram every soul you can on board an airplane. And in order to do that, you have to, make sure the supply and demand curves work out. And in order to do that, you have to overbook. And if you can bribe people off the planes, then it all works out for everybody. I think the problem in this particular case is that they deboarded the guy.
Boom.
They didn't deny him boarding. They just pulled him off after he was on there. Mm-hmm. And that was just dumb. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a PR nightmare for these guys. And what's even worse is that the CEO of United tried to frame it as if the guy was belligerent so he could have some kind of case to pull him off the
If only
plane.
People had some kind of device that they could passive-aggressively point at situations that are socially awkward so there could be some kind of evidence as to what actually happened.
I know. They're going to end up owing this guy so much money, and I think it's good.
Do you think they should?
Yeah. Oh, obviously. They used unreasonable force.
Why did it matter so much? Is it just the principle of the thing? Is it the Dread Pirate Roberts principle that if people find out the airline has gone soft on involuntary deboarding, it's nothing but work all the time?
Yeah, I love Princess Bride.
What's the downside?
I think the problem was you probably got into a situation where the personalities started becoming a factor. Like the manager probably didn't want to bribe any higher or, whatever it was. I keep saying bribe, but you know what I mean. Keep bumping up the reward to get off. I think that probably was a factor. The personality of the person in charge of the moment, leadership failed at that moment. And I think that's what good leaders do. They can see something devolving quickly and they can jump in and they can diffuse the situation. In this particular case, this could have been a PR win for these guys. They could have made somebody happy, and they had a story about, what was the airline that you flew across the Atlantic in first class? Do you remember?
That was Lufthansa?
Yeah, there you go.
Did I say that right? Was I even close? I've never known how to pronounce that
Yeah,
word.
I think that's right. That's awesome. That's a PR win for those guys because you're still talking about it now. That's what good management does. Management can solve situations like that. Because for any engineering model that you create, even if it's designed to be a system that drives economic decisions, you can engineer that system. But at some point, you have to be able to reach in and touch the inner workings of the model to make it do what it's really intended to do, which is make people happy.
I agree. It was a missed opportunity. And one of the things I've really enjoyed watching as this has unfolded is the way the market has pointed out to United and the rest of the airline industry that doesn't work for us. So in response to this, surely you've also seen lots of calls for changing laws. Do you think we need new laws to fix the situation?
I actually ran a poll on Twitter about this. I tweet from Smarter Every Day. I made a Twitter poll and I said, should overbooking be illegal? And 2/3 of the people said yes. And I kind of feel those people. But 1/3 said no, and that surprised me. I expected like 80 or 90% to say yes. But what I realized is that those people...
How many people voted?
I don't know. I can find out real quick. But what I realized, once I realized how many people did not think that, there needed to be a law against it, was a company should be able to make whatever decision it wants, even if it's stupid. Is it? Yeah, that's getting mighty close to what you think.
That's getting mighty close to what I think. I'm rather enjoying it.
Yeah. Let's see. Here we go. 3,267 people voted. 67% say it should be illegal to overbook. 33% said no. Originally, I was in the yes camp. It should be illegal because on my most recent flight home, I was actually, not allowed to board, even though I had already paid for a ticket, which kind of feels strange.
I was on the phone with you when that happened. I remember your emotions.
Oh, yeah. I was angry. But if you think about it, I paid money for a service. I didn't get it. So that seems like you're advertising something that doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
But the airline that I was flying with, which was Delta at that point in time, they made a gamble that I wouldn't be so inconvenienced that I would go through the system to get whatever amount of money I'm supposed to get or whatever.
Did they gamble correctly?
Yeah, they were right. The 3 hours or whatever it would take me to go through on the customer service line, even though I'm a loyal customer of this airline, it just wasn't worth it. Even if I don't know. I feel bad about that now. I don't feel like a good steward, but that's where I am.
I created 1,000 fake Twitter accounts to vote no on your poll, and I feel like I need to confess that to you at this point.
Really?
It was expensive.
Yeah.
It was the biggest waste of money that I have committed since the 50-50 debacle, and I want to apologize for skewing those results. I think it was actually 100%.
Yep.
Okay, when I hear any story like this, I feel two things right away. One is anger at injustice. Two, I cringe because I think to myself, great, this is how we get another stupid law. And it's going to be named after the person it happened to. And everybody's going to be really sympathetic. And rather than just not doing business with people who do bad things or navigating change in some other way, we're going to do the thing again where we go right to force. And we're like, well, we want those contracts and we want cheap airfare, but we don't want that to be allowed anymore because we feel bad about a video we watched. Those kind of laws are not good laws. They're knee-jerky.
Well, they make the pendulum swing too far in the other way, usually.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you'll see if you leave this alone is that the civil litigation process and the social media process will correct that behavior, and every airline is going to, I promise you right now, they're all reviewing their policies on this, and it will be done different in the future.
Oh, I already saw an article where Delta has raised the fees. Like they used to say, it was only $1,300 that they were authorized to pay you or whatever it was. They've already raised it to like $10K.
Yeah, I saw that. 10 grand. And as soon as I saw that, I tell you what, I thought to myself, I might just book every flight with Delta henceforth, because it's also like I'm buying a lottery ticket. I get to go where I want to go, but I can just hustle up to the counter every time, be like, are you overbooked? Are you overbooked? $10,000. You can bump me.
Here it is, $9,950. It says only in some cases. So, maybe you'll get lucky and you'll get on a flight with a bunch of, pencil neck engineers. And when they start trying to bribe you off the plane, one of us heroes will stand up and say, everyone shut up until it gets to at least $8,000. Then you can take it.
Can you imagine what that moment would be like socially?
Everybody
wants that money. Everybody's sitting there, like just waiting on the, like Jeopardy on the trigger finger. Let it get up a little higher. Who's going to break first? You're bidding against your seatmate.
Who's going to betray?
I want this to happen. Fly Delta,
betray
bro.
the union. That's interesting.
That was an ugly incident. It was a disappointing incident. I'm sure United will learn things from it. I think that guy will be taken care of, and he should be because he was physically wronged. But I don't think there's some larger metaphor here for political points for one side of our big nonsense argument or the other. I think it's just people making an enormous mistake in how they handle the situation. They violated another person, and justice will be done.
The thing that's going to be the long-term effect from this, hopefully they won't make a law, but the thing that will come out of this is public relations classes at universities will study the CEO's reactions for years to come because that is exactly how not to handle the situation. I'm sorry we had to reaccommodate this person. Wow.
Reaccommodate.
Dude.
That sounds like one of those dark government euphemisms from the 20th century. that we all cringe at. The Ministry of Public Safety has determined. I don't like
It's like
that.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they like have to annihilate a planet for an interstellar highway system kind of thing. Yeah, it's just wrong. I don't think that guy's going to last long. There's no way. I don't know anything about him. You know, I wish him well in his career, but wow, that was bad.
Yeah, I'm not one of these who just does the, what? Someone did something I don't like? Fire him. It's hard to get jobs right now. I kind of hope he gets to learn from it, because I tell you what, that dude will be better at his job if he stays on after this thing.
Yeah, he will. And he'll probably, he won't knee jerk to crazy situations, because that's what he did here. He saw it and he's like, oh no, I read in Public Relations 101, you got to own it quickly. I want to halfway own it.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
I was listening to our friend Bob Clagett's podcast today.
Yeah, I like to make stuff.
Yeah, but what's the name of the podcast? Making It is the name of the podcast. Mm-hmm. And they had a good conversation on the episode I listened to today about knee-jerk reaction to Twitter criticism or comment criticism in the comment section on YouTube. And I don't remember which one of the guys was saying it, but one of the dudes pretty much owned it. Like, I overreacted, I got worked up and responded negatively to some criticism. They had a good conversation about that impulse that we all have. And I would like to think that I would handle the situation better than the United CEO, but sometimes hearing people from a totally different perspective just ripping you left and right doesn't bring out the best in you.
Somebody told me one time, they said, you know, if people are saying bad things about you, you don't have to defend it, because your friends will know it's not true, and the people that don't like you, they're not going to believe it when you do defend yourself anyway. So just don't engage.
That's well put.
I thought that was pretty smart.
And the real point is, don't slam people's heads on armrests and airplanes. It's mean.
Unless you give them a lot of money. This episode of No Dumb Questions is sponsored by 23andMe, which offers genotype testing of your DNA. And you want to explain the name, Matt? Why it's 23andMe?
Yeah, 23 pairs of chromosomes. That's what humans have, right? Those are the little fellas that carry our DNA in the cells.
Very good, science man. Yes.
That has exhausted the reservoir of my knowledge about the subject matter.
It's pretty neat the way this works. They send you a kit, and you spit into the kit, and there's this little stabilizer liquid that's a part of the tube, and after you spit and fill the cup up to the line, you close it and crack open that stabilizer, and then it stabilizes your saliva, and you send it off, and then you get a genetic test. And it's really interesting what you can learn about yourself, and we're about to look at mine right now, and I'm really excited about that.
Okay, you have not opened this, correct?
Yes, I've stuck to my word. So people are concerned because, you know, it's like, oh man, I'm going to send them my DNA. Now that's a major hurdle that I had to get over myself before I did this, but I went through all of their terms and conditions and things like that. And I understood that if they, you know, if I want to, I can have them destroy my sample immediately after that. And there's only certain things that they can do to tie this sample to me. For example, this was filled out by Josiah Pennywhistle. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you're saying. Fox Thunderglare knows what you're saying.
So that's Fox with two X's, right?
That's with two X's.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here we go. I'm logging in. Choose my report. So we recognize that learning your genetic information is a personal choice. You have control over what types of information you would like to see and choose to exclude certain things. That's pretty interesting because you can figure out different things about yourself. And so they are kind of insulating you from certain things you may or may not want to know. I find that to be interesting.
Okay. Before you tell us anything, hold on. So we're doing ethnicity right now?
Yeah, we're going to do basically what kind of American mutt am I is basically what we're about to learn.
Okay, cool. So before we do that, I want to guess, and depending on my level of accuracy, I want to feel like I've won something, and we'll determine the prize after I win. I am going to guess, well, Sandlin, that's got to be some kind of English thing, right?
Well, the way it's been told to me back in the day was that, you know, we have a coat of arms that my grandfather had on the wall, and I was told that it was somewhere in the like Scotland region. I don't really know.
Sandlin.
I don't know. Scotland.
Okay.
Wales. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound Polish.
No.
So I we'll assume that it's somewhere on the island.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. Doesn't sound Welsh. I'm just going to go with some kind of generic English as part of it.
Well, obviously.
And you have very yellow hair.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess there's some kind of Scandinavian in there as well, which would make sense because if you're from central England, that means that your forebears were repeatedly raided and interacted with by the Vikings. So there'd be some of that going on, I bet. And what's the wild card? What's the weird outlier for your family in terms of last names and your family tree?
Well, there's not, but my understanding is that after the Civil War, there was a Cherokee lady that was left behind as an orphan, and she came into our family, and so my grandfather always said he was a 16th Cherokee. I have no idea if that's true or not. So,
I'm not good at math, but that would make you not very Cherokee. It'll be interesting to see if that picks up.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
I'm jumping in here.
All right, open it.
Okay, so ancestry composition. I'm
also still going 3% mole rat.
okay. I am 74. Whoa. Okay. I'm 99.6% European. That means very European. But there's also some sub-Saharan African in there. Whoa, that's interesting.
What?
Yeah.
Well, okay, but like 0.4%.
Okay, here we go. Whoa, this report is very, very... Okay, here we go. So we've got 97.4% Northwestern European, and that is made up of 74.9% British and Irish, 4.2% Scandinavian, 2.4% French and German. Wow, this is neat. Okay. Southern European. Oh, so it breaks it down into like the specific. Okay, that's cool. There is no.
This is checking out.
Yeah.
You don't look Italian at all.
There is no Oceania in me whatsoever. Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing.
No, you and The Rock look really different.
0.4% West African. That's cool. That's very interesting.
West Africa.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Okay.
So that makes you wonder if, I'm from the South. That makes you wonder if...
Well, I can tell you how it happened. I mean, when a man and a woman love each other very much.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to figure out
They will. Okay.
Let's see. British. You most likely had a parent, grandparent, or great-grandparent who was 100% British and Irish. This person was likely born between 1890 and 1950. That's interesting.
Does that check out?
Yeah, there's a guy named Jonathan Sandlin in our family tree. That's very interesting. Okay, it's saying that you most likely had a fourth great-grandparent, fifth great-grandparent, sixth great-grandparent, or seventh who was 100% West African. This person was likely born between 1710 and 1800. That is really cool.
I had no idea they gave you stuff like that.
No, I didn't either. That's awesome.
So what that means is you can actually go and do the math and cross-reference that, not just with your family tree that, whoever the person in your family who keeps track of that is, gives you, but you can also cross-reference that with what was going on in history at that time.
Very interesting. So when was the slave trade?
Well, it would have been in full swing in the early to mid 18th century.
Really? So it's possible I have a great-grandparent of some form or another that was a slave. What? That's awesome. I'm the most lily white Southern guy that you can. That's amazing. That's awesome.
Is there a notch past lily white?
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting about this is my sister actually served in West Africa in the Peace Corps, and I went over there and I got to hang out. Man, I really wish I knew more about that ancestor. That's really neat. Okay, so
any other outliers on there? Is there Cherokee?
No, I see unassigned, which is minus 0.1%. I don't know what that means, but I don't actually see anything from the Americas at all. That's interesting. That makes me wonder if the story that my grandfather told about the Cherokee makes me wonder if it was different and if it was actually someone else, that would have had the West African descents,
or if it was just a different branch of the family tree, and just because someone married into another ethnic group doesn't mean you would be descended from that particular branch.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Anyway. That was really fun. If you want to do that, feel free to go to 23andme.com/nodumbquestions. You can learn about your ancestry, your genetic traits, and you can do health through genetic analysis. It's pretty interesting. So if you want to check that out, just go get a kit. They'll send it to you. You get to spit in the little vial and send it back. Are you going to do it, Matt?
Oh, yeah. I'm all over it. I was thinking this would be fun now that you got to open your present. I'm jealous and want to do the same.
What do you think you are?
I think I'm Scottish and Irish with a solid dose of Scandinavian. I don't know.
Because of the blue eyes?
I'm interested to see if the genetic test reveals that they think I might turn out to be bald.
They actually can do that.
Can they really?
They really can. So this is done with genotyping. So they go through and they ID different parts of, the genetic code, and they can associate these. It's almost like a genetic word. They can associate different things like that, like how long your toes are going to be and stuff like that. But yeah, it's all in there if you get the right report.
Interesting.
They also have, they've recently got approval to do all types of health stuff. The FDA just recently approved it to determine different types of genetic risk factors. It's pretty neat. But anyway.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do the whole shebang.
That'd be cool.
Okay, so the point is we're really grateful to 23andMe for making this episode happen. And we're also really excited about what the thing is, because this is the kind of stuff that overlaps between the two things that make us tick. It certainly checks the science box for you. And now that I've seen your results, it really intrigues me on the history side and the possibility that comes with that. So I'm all over this thing too. And again, we invite you to give it a shot as well at 23andme.com/nodumbquestions or 23andme.com/NDQ, whichever one sticks in your brain better. Okay, Destin, this is episode 007, and I think we would be squandering an important opportunity if we did not talk about 007.
You really? Okay, I'm with you. You didn't prepare me for this at all, so let's do it.
Are you a James Bond fan?
I mean, I've watched James Bond. I mean, There's only one James Bond. We all know who that James Bond is.
Really? Okay, let's say it on the count of three. Right. 1, 2, 3.
Sean
Pierce
Connery. Brosnan. You're joking. You know it's not Pierce Brosnan.
It's Sean Connery. Try and craft this whole elaborate argument to create the effect of tension between us so that I could announce we're in a fight again. But no. I'm not sure I can really defend that position.
Everybody knows it's Sean Connery. Did you see the time like the woman tried to kill him and then he like somehow choked her with her own bikini?
So many levels of metaphor there. I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah,
those old Connery Bond movies, they feel more jarring and uncomfortable than Mad Men with the weird sexism and that's how things were then. Strange.
Yeah, this is not okay now.
Okay, they were fun and campy though. I mean, I kind of liked the campy age of Bond. What do you think of the new dark Bond, the Daniel Craig Bond?
I mean, he's pretty aggressive and awesome. I do like that. I've never had a shaken not stirred martini. I don't know anything about that, but all I know is that James Bond is supposed to have isn't it shaken not stirred? A dry martini?
It's a vodka martini. Shaken not stirred, right?
I don't know this stuff, but what I do know is that when he went and did a Heineken, because apparently they paid the Bond, empire a lot of money, I felt weird about that. And I don't know why, because I don't partake of either one of those products. So I don't know.
There were a couple of ads that he did that made me feel uncomfortable. Another, I feel like it was for a watch, and they were on a speedboat, and there's this James Bond fight, except it was all tamed down violence-wise because it's an ad. And so it was like two super agents just lightly, playfully grappling during a boat ride. And it was really uncomfortable for me.
It was a Belova watch, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. You're right. That's what it was.
It stuck out in my mind enough where I could just Google it and go to it. So apparently the ad was effective.
Yeah, clearly it was. I like Dark Bond. I thought Skyfall was spectacular. I like the bad guy. I like the brooding thing. But I might be ready to go back to the campy goofball James Bond for a while. If we're picking a new Bond.
You have like really strong opinions about movies. This is a strange thing.
You act like you don't know this about me. I guess we don't talk about movies much though.
We don't. I mean, like when you bring up a movie, you get so excited, and I just whatever. It's a movie.
But you know this about me though. I love storytelling.
Yeah.
In part because I just think stories are super fun, but in part because I think storytelling and the stories we consume and the stories we really like in mass say a ton about where we're at as society in history. It's a snapshot of each moment of who we are and what we think. Yeah, sure. So I think Bond is one of those cultural indicators, or if you view it more negatively, one of those cultural canaries in the coal mine that gives us an indication about how we're doing and what we're into. I thought the two superheroes fighting and killing each other movies last spring, Batman, Superman, and Captain America, Civil War, were a negative indication of where we're at societally.
I don't know, man.
Your favorite Bond is Sean Connery. Who's your second?
Yeah, I think it'd have to be Mr. Craig. I think it would have to be.
Can you name them all?
No, I don't think so. So you got Sean Connery, Daniel Craig, Pierce Brosnan. Brosnan? Am I saying that right?
Brosnan.
Brosnan.
Yeah, Remington Steele.
That's all I got, man.
Okay, let's see if we can get the rest. Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton,
Golly,
and the dude George Lazenby, who just did The One. I think George Lazenby, I could be wrong, I think he lied about all of his credentials and smooth talked his way into the role of James Bond for one film. And if that's right, I think that's the most boss move ever. Act like James Bond to get the role of James Bond, and then they have to let you play James Bond.
Okay, James Bond, played by Daniel Craig, Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, George Lazenby, David Niven, and Barry Nelson.
Niven.
Apparently, Casino Royale has happened several times. Yeah. I don't know. My favorite part of the James Bond movies is the opening sequence, because that was the first time I ever thought about looking down a barrel and seeing the rifling in the barrel.
Oh, I thought you were talking about all the silhouetted naked girls.
No, it's the rifling of the barrel.
Yeah, I honestly thought you were headed. That's the first time I'd ever thought of like what that would look like.
No.
Oh yeah, the gun. I'm with you too, man.
It tickles the engineer part of my brain, and then of course Q, the Q that makes all the gadgets and the spy stuff. That's really, really cool. You know,
I like that too.
That tickles the engineer part of my brain as well.
So I like the walking into things and being unbelievably confident routine.
What is this segment about? What are we doing here? We're
talking about 007 because it's episode 007. I felt like I laid that out very clearly.
I need to play along better. Yes, I like the confidence.
You're playing along terribly. All right, I'm not quitting. This is happening.
Okay, let's do it.
Favorite Bond movie? Which one?
Oh man, the only names I know are Goldfinger. Now, if you want to talk Bond, we can talk Goldeneye, like the old game.
Are you talking N64 Goldeneye?
Yes. You know, everybody knows Odd Job was the character, right? Everybody knows that.
Yeah, advantage short guy.
Exactly.
I love that dude.
Less to shoot.
Bald, short. Yeah.
Yeah.
Throws frisbees. It's like me, but, unless I get a message I didn't expect from 23andMe, just slightly ethnically different.
Okay, I'm on the other side of the room now. We have been, that's me opening my Leatherman, to open this box that was sent to us from Andreas Ray. Andreas is Andre with a little tilde on top of it. S. Ray. I'm going to go with Andres Ray. He's from
I'm going with that. Sounds good.
Brecksville, Ohio. It's a really, really heavy box, and he paid $20 to ship it, and it says, 2 No Dumb Questions, care of Smarter Every Day. So here we go. We're opening it.
I'm excited.
Holy crap. Holy moly.
What?
No way. What? He sent us, it's a box that says $500 halves. What? You gotta be kidding. Shut up. Joker just sent us $500 in $50 coins.
What?
I'm not joking.
Seriously?
Yes, seriously. This is the strangest. Where's my phone? Look at that. Look at what I just snapped you. Did you see it?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I didn't even know you could do this.
Who's on the half? Is that Kennedy?
Yeah, it's Kennedy. Whoa. This is the coolest thing ever. Andreas Ray. I don't know. What's it? I mean, it's money. That's cool. But it's cool money, you know?
Yeah, and that's conflicting.
What do you mean? I don't
want to use cool money.
I know. I don't know what to do.
Decorate with it or something.
What are we supposed to do with this? Oh, it's the 50-50. You think that's why he did it?
He lost.
He lost the 50-50.
Yeah. That's got to be some kind of blood guilt offering.
I don't know what to do. I'm kind of sweaty right now.
Yeah, it feels dirty to just cash it out.
I don't know. Why is it?
I don't know.
Thank you for the
Texas
money,
Roadhouse a couple
Andres,
times.
but what do we do? $500,
No kidding.
Matt.
I think we just leave in our final edit all of this befuddlement. And 2, I think our listeners are creative and they will tell us what to do with it.
Tell us what to do with this $500 on the subreddit. Thank you, Andreas.
Yeah, thanks, Andreas. Like, you've both honored us and created a really interesting conundrum that we did not anticipate.
Okay, in response to the Grabbler, on the subreddit, somebody had an interesting comment. I don't know if Matt is out of the ordinary, but he is way more open-minded than most Christians that I know, let alone pastors. Libertarian pastor is a good mix. I just said that to make your head swell a little bit. How's that feel?
No, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty nice comment. Oh, here's a comment. People continue to be confused about the 50-50. I can understand that. I mean, for some reason, we have the gummy bears.
The gummy bears? Those are my favorite, man.
The Gummy Bears themed song video on our Patreon page right now. So, yeah, I can understand the confusion there.
I don't see what there is to be confused by. The 50-50 is a game where you go to the5050.com and you click one of 2 buttons. And then either something good happens or something bad happens. And then you can support us on Patreon after that. It's very simple.
You could. I think what I'll do is I'll change the Gummy Bears theme song that's currently on our Patreon page to a video showing these $50.
I think that's a great idea. And I think I will change the disappointing losers page to something else that's disappointing.
Everybody seems to be looking forward to Ready Player One. A lot of people are excited about that. I am as well.
Yes. That's got us thinking about the No Dumb Questions book club idea a little bit more. So we're going to figure out how to integrate that so we can have fun conversations about storytelling, which I'm hyper into and Destin mocks me for.
Pretty much.
Okay, Destin, home stretch. What did we learn today?
I learned, this feels like the end of the G.I. Joe episode, but I learned not to body slam people on airplanes and drag them out of square people pipes. But if you do, just write a really well-crafted email about it, describing it to your employees.
I didn't learn it today, but from the end of G.I. Joe episodes, I learned not to lock myself in a refrigerator or to play in water when there's a lightning storm or a G.I. Joe guy hiding right underneath me creepily.
That's
both important lessons.
And knowing is half the battle.
That is an important lesson.
Okay, what else do we have? What else did we learn today?
The coin thing?
Yes, we learned that if you want to completely stupefy a scientist and a historian, just simply send them a bunch of rare coinage in an odd denomination, and we won't know what to say or do.
He bested us there for sure. What else did we learn? We learned about my heritage. That was interesting. We got to do yours, man. That has to happen.
Yeah, I'm sold. I'm doing it.
Okay, cool. Anyway, thank you to 23andMe for sponsoring the show. 23andme.com/nodumbquestions. Anything else?
Yeah, we also learned today that you are cooperative enough and that the reservoir of trust in our friendship is deep enough that even if I drag you kicking and screaming into a conversation you have no interest in, you'll still play along.
I know.
So thank you for that, because I really like James Bond and you indulged me.
Forgive me. I didn't play along very nice, but you got me there. You were right.
No, you got us to the N64 game. I feel like that was the win of the whole thing.
Okay, I contributed. Thank you. All right, if you want to connect with us, you can do that on Twitter at nodumbquestions, or check us out on the No Dumb Questions subreddit, which has been awesome. That's where the main comment section for this episode is going to be.
I think that's a wrap, man.
It's good. I enjoyed it. Thanks for hanging out.
I hope someday we're on a flight together. We haven't had that experience yet. I am going to bring...
Dude, what if they start beating somebody in the head and I'm on like one side of the aisle and you're on the other, and we like...
Oh, we've already gamed it out, man.
We double dragon it.
You went 8-bit.
Grab their hair and throw them.
That's the most natural way to defend an innocent person.
It is.
I look forward to the moment.